What if the one thing we spend a third of our lives doing, the nightly surrender to darkness, the helpless drift into dreams, simply never existed? What if humans evolved without the need to sleep? No beds. No alarms. No nightmares. No lazy Sunday mornings. We would call it a superpower. We would call it the ultimate efficiency hack. But we would be wrong. This isn't a world of boundless productivity. This is a world where the mind never resets, where memories pile up like unspent trash, where dreams never form, and where the very concept of peace is alien. This is a world where humanity never closes its eyes, and in that endless waking, loses a part of its soul. This is a reality where consciousness is a life sentence, served in a single, unbroken stretch from birth until death. Welcome to the world without sleep, a world that never rests, never dreams, and perhaps, never truly lives. Imagine a life without an off switch. From the moment you are born until the moment you die, your consciousness is a continuous, unbroken stream. You never log out. You never reboot. Your brain, that magnificent 3-pound universe of electricity and chemistry, never gets to power down, to defragment, to cleanse itself of the day's mental toxins. This is the reality in a world where sleep never evolved. At first, it sounds like Utopia. A 30% increase in waking hours. Imagine what humanity could achieve. The global economy would transform into an unstoppable 24/7 engine. Factories would hum without shift changes, financial markets would spin in perpetual motion, and the very concept of closing time would vanish from our vocabulary. There would be no tired drivers causing accidents, no surgeons fighting exhaustion in marathon operations, no soldiers caught napping on watch. We would be a species of perpetual motion, always alert, always available, always on. Cities would blaze with constant activity, no dimming of lights, no quiet hours, no pre-dawn stillness. The natural rhythm of day and night would become irrelevant, just background noise to our endless productivity. We would have conquered the night, and in doing so, seemingly conquered time itself. The workday would stretch indefinitely, education would be continuous, and leisure would be something you squeezed in between tasks rather than a dedicated period of rest. The pressure to perform, to produce, to always be achieving would become the relentless drumbeat of human existence. But here lies the first paradox. When everyone has more time, time itself becomes worthless. The scarcity that makes moments precious disappears. There are no good nights, because there is no night. There is no tomorrow, as a fresh start, just one continuous, unfolding today. The sun might rise and set, but human consciousness doesn't. The sun might rise and set, but human consciousness doesn't. We become like machines, wired for output but devoid of natural rhythm. However, nature never gives a gift without a tax. Sleep isn't a bug in the human system, it's a vital, non-negotiable feature. Without it, the architecture of our minds would crumble from within. First and foremost, memory. Sleep is when our brains perform essential maintenance. During deep sleep, short-term experiences from the day are sorted, encoded, and stored as long-term memories. The brain decides what to keep, what to discard, and how to connect new information to old. It's a nightly filing session for the mind. Without it, your consciousness becomes a cluttered desk piled with unsorted papers. You remember everything, every minor slight, every passing face in a crowd, every trivial advertisement jingle, but you understand nothing. Learning becomes nearly impossible because new information has nowhere to integrate. Each fact, each experience, remains a lonely island in a sea of noise. Trauma would become a life sentence. Without the processing power of REM sleep, painful events wouldn't soften with time. Every hurt, every embarrassment, every grief would replay with original, unblunted intensity forever. The mind would have no ability to contextualize pain, to weave it into a narrative of healing. Mental illness would likely skyrocket, not just from exhaustion, but from the sheer, unbearable weight of unprocessed experience. Anxiety disorders, PTSD, and obsessive thought patterns would be the baseline, not the exception. The brain, without its nightly cleanse of neurotoxins like beta amyloid, linked to Alzheimer's, would likely deteriorate faster. Neurodegenerative diseases might emerge decades earlier in this sleepless humanity. Then, we must confront the most profound loss: dreams. Or rather, the absence of them. Dreams aren't just random neurofireworks. They are our mind's secret laboratory, its playground, its therapy couch. During REM sleep, our brain disconnects from external reality and turns inward. It runs simulations, solves problems creatively, and processes complex emotions. It's where we confront fears in a safe space, rehearse social scenarios, and make bizarre connections that spark genius. Without dreams, there is no subconscious as we know it. The vast, hidden reservoir of our creativity runs dry. Consider the innovations born from sleeping visions. Dmitri Mendeleev famously dreamed the periodic tables arrangement. Elias Howe dreamed the design for the modern sewing machine needle. Without dreams, science and invention become purely logical, incremental grinds. The brilliant, intuitive leap becomes extinct. Art and culture wither. Mary Shelley doesn't dream of Frankenstein's monster. Paul McCartney doesn't wake with the melody of Yesterday in his head. Salvador Dali doesn't paint his surreal landscapes drawn from hypnagogic imagery. Stephen King loses his nightmare-fueled stories. Our storytelling would lack metaphor, symbolism, and the deep, unsettling truth that dreams provide. Literature might become stark realism. Music might become purely mathematical. We would become brilliant technicians and engineers, but lose our poets, our visionaries, our prophets. The human imagination, unchained from the dream world, might ironically become smaller, trapped in the literal and the seen. And what of our physical vessel? Sleep is when the body shifts from action to repair. Human growth hormone, crucial for tissue repair and muscle growth, is primarily released during deep sleep. The immune system produces cytokines during sleep, proteins that fight infection and inflammation. Without this nightly tune-up, our bodies would be in a state of constant breakdown. Lifespans would likely shorten, not lengthen. Chronic sleep deprivation in our world leads to hypertension, heart disease, diabetes, and obesity. In a world that never sleeps at all, these conditions would be universal and accelerated. Our cells would age faster. Injuries would heal slower. We'd be perpetually vulnerable to pathogens. The face of humanity would be etched with the permanent, hollow-eyed strain of eternal wakefulness, not just as an aesthetic, but as a physical manifestation of systemic decay. We might appear gaunt, frail, with twitching eyes and sluggish movements, our biology perpetually screaming for a rest it can never have. But the deepest wound would be to the human spirit. Sleep is our only true, universal daily retreat from the world. It's a voluntary vulnerability, a necessary surrender. It's where a child feels safest, wrapped in blankets. It's where lovers share unconscious breath, an intimacy deeper than words. It's where the grieving find a few hours of escape from pain. The rituals of bedtime, the story, the goodnight kiss, the quiet sigh before darkness, these are the sacred pauses in the noise of existence. They are acts of faith, trusting that we will let go and be safe. Without sleep, there is no pause. There is only the relentless, grinding continuity of consciousness. Meditation or quiet reflection would have to be consciously fought for, a battle against a brain wired for endless input. We would lose the gentle, nightly mercy of forgetting. The concept of a good night's sleep. Solving a problem would be alien. People would never feel truly refreshed, only varying degrees of depleted. Our language would be barren of its most beautiful, restful metaphors. No more. I'll sleep on it. No. Sweet dreams. No. Rest in peace. No. Putting a problem to bed. What would we say instead? I will endure until a solution emerges. Our connection to peace, renewal, and escape would be severed linguistically. Even our concept of death would transform. If life is uninterrupted wakefulness, then death isn't a sleep, it's just a sudden, absolute, terrifying stop. The final, silent void after a never-ending noise. The metaphor of eternal rest would be meaningless, replaced perhaps by the horror of the great silencing. Our societies would be built differently, and perhaps more cruelly. Without the need for bedrooms, homes would be smaller, more efficient. Beds would be obsolete relics. The entire industries of mattresses, pajamas, alarm clocks, and sleep aids would never exist. Instead, we'd have industries for constant stimulation, advanced nootropics, neural stimulation entertainment, and focus chambers to combat the inevitable mental fatigue. The work-life balance would be a myth. The expectation would be perpetual availability. Burnout wouldn't be an occupational hazard. It would be the universal human condition, managed chemically and technologically. Social structures might become rigidly shift-based, not for rest, but for managing overcrowding in a world where no one goes home to sleep. Family life would change. Without shared nighttime routines, would the bond between parent and child be different? Without pillow talk, would romantic love lose a dimension of intimacy? Perhaps most chillingly, we might invent artificial substitutes. Mandatory, neuroquieting pods, where people are forced into restful, waking comas to prevent psychosis. Digital dream simulations sold as expensive entertainment for the elite. The right to true mental rest could become the ultimate commodity, creating a new class divide, those who can afford to simulate respite, and those who slowly unravel in the endless now. So when you lie down tonight, frustrated by another hour lost to oblivion, remember this. Sleep isn't stolen time. It's the secret architect of your mind, the unseen healer of your body, and the silent guardian of your soul. It's the reset button evolution gave us so we don't burn out in the fire of our own consciousness. It is the doorway to a world of dreams where we are more creative, more resilient, and more connected to our deepest selves. A world without sleep isn't a world of limitless potential. It's a world without escape, without dreams, without mercy, a waking life so long and so loud that we might just spend it longing for the quiet dark we never knew. It shows us that our humanity isn't forged solely in our waking hours, but is equally woven in the delicate, essential tapestry of the night. To lose sleep is to lose a fundamental part of being human, the part that knows how to rest, to dream, and to begin again. The next time you feel impatient for dawn, cherish the twilight. In that surrender to sleep, you are not being unproductive. You are engaging in the most vital, human, and mysterious process of all. You are stepping out of time to rebuild yourself, one night at a time, so that you may wake, not just rested, but remade. In a universe of endless activity, the courageous, revolutionary act is sometimes simply to close your eyes and let go.